Hey, are your parents coming?
I glanced at the notice of the parent-teacher meeting day when I was approached by Jessica from the seat next to me. I always looked forward to elementary school's open class day. Mom's coming to the open class day, right? I asked many times, and each time Mom said yes, I would get excited and cheer. I would look back to confirm Mom's presence in the classroom and wave with a smile. Once the class started, I was eager to answer the questions, and it felt great to be praised by Mom when I got home. When I entered middle school, having parents attend the open class day evoked mixed feelings of happiness and embarrassment. But I was always happy to see Mom's face in the classroom, showing her my shy smile when I looked back. And then there's high school's open class day. I think it's probably impossible for us. As I answered with a forced smile, Jessica responded saying, "Well, it's high school now. Not many parents participate anyway." And I felt relieved. The high school I attend is known as an elite girls' school, often referred to as a posh school, with a majority of the students being middle to high school integrated program students. In such an environment, I became good friends with Jessica, who, like me, had joined the school starting high school. Despite deciding to attend this school at my grandfather's recommendation, I often feel out of place here. After returning home, I would heat up some food from the fridge in the microwave, chat with Jessica and my middle school friends on text, or dig through videos on my phone when I heard the front door open.
"I'm home. Have you had dinner?"
Dad asked, and I replied yay without taking my eyes off my phone. It's been almost 2 years since we started living just the two of us. I do help out a bit, but seeing Dad try to handle both work and household chores, and trying to communicate with me more than ever since Mom's death, I can't help but think how tough it must be for him. And yet, the hole left in my heart from losing Mom just can't seem to be filled.
"By the way, there's a parent-teacher meeting next week, right?"
As Dad paused eating his meal to ask me, I felt my heart drop. When I asked how he knew, he said he checked the annual schedule. "You don't have to come. Hardly any parents come to high school's open class day anyway, and it's mostly mothers, so a dad would stand out. You wouldn't want that, right, Dad?" I thought saying this much would convince him not to come, but
"Now that your mom's gone, it's only natural for me as a father to attend the parent-teacher meeting. Plus, I'd like to see what kind of classes the teachers are conducting at school."
as I gave Dad a look, he said,
"Don't worry about work, I'll manage."
and he smiled. But that's not what I'm worried about. During lunch break, while I was chatting with Jessica in the schoolyard,
"Hannah."
I was called from behind. Whoa, he really did come. I turned to look at Dad while murmuring to myself, and couldn't help but burst into laughter. His knit sweater and chinos weren't bad, but I just couldn't handle his glasses and heavy bangs.
"Do I look weird?"
To a perplexed Dad, "Nah, you're fine," I responded. After briefly introducing Dad to Jessica, since there was still time before the 5th period open class, we decided to tour the school together. "Are you sure it's okay to be walking around at this time?" Despite my concerns, Dad seemed carefree.
"No one cares about me. Oh, here it is. I wanted to see this with you, Hannah."
Dad peered into a glass case placed in the hallway. It was filled with many trophies, shields, and photos. One of them caught my eye. It was a picture of Mom smiling with a trophy in her hands. Next to it, there was a trophy with the inscription, "National High School Tennis Championship Winner." My mom also graduated from this school. I've heard about the old days before, but seeing these photos and realizing that Mom was once my age feels somewhat strange.
"I always thought Hannah took after me, but looking at these photos, I see traces of Susan too."
Having my dad say that made me feel a bit ticklish. Walking down the hallway towards the classroom, I see Miss Davis in my line of sight. She's a new teacher who started this year, but honestly, I'm not a fan. The reason being, she favors the students from integrated program. You can tell from her attitude and his remarks that she looks down on us high school entrants as being po. It's unbelievable for a teacher to discriminate against students like that. But she's still my homeroom teacher, so I have to greet her properly. "Miss Davis, may I have a moment?" As I timidly called out, Miss Davis turned around. "This is my father." Dad greeted Miss Davis with a smile and thanked her for taking care of me. Miss Davis glanced at my father and quickly adjusted her glasses.
"Excuse me, But do you know that today is Parent-Teacher Conference Day?
After throwing out that mocking question, she continued,
To think that you'd come to our prestigious school's parent-teacher conference without a suit. How typically unsophisticated of a high school entrance parent.
Dad wasn't wearing a suit, but he wasn't dressed casually in a tracksuit or a t-shirt with jeans either. That's within the range of common sense.
Isn't it true, Miss Smith, that your family is a single-parent household? Is your father taking the day off from work?
At Miss Davis's question, I flinched.
Yes. I didn't go to work today.
My dad answered nonchalantly, causing Miss Davis to frown.
A single parent and unemployed introvert. That's just the worst.
Hearing such harsh words, my blood boiled. My dad is. Before I could say anything, Dad stopped me. Without apologizing, Miss Davis quickly left, saying that she had preparations for the conference.
It's okay, Hannah.
Despite being calmed down by Dad, I was still fuming and glared at the retreating figure of Miss Davis. When I entered the classroom, there were already several mothers present. I didn't expect so many parents to come to a high school conference. Moreover, everyone was dressed to the nines with suits or dresses and brand-name bags. This private school isn't just for show. In that case, my dad stood out a bit. No, he stood out quite a lot among the parents. No one openly said anything bad, but I could see disdainful looks and whispered conversations, which upset me. Seeing the parents' reactions and smirking as if to say I told you so made me most angry at Miss Davis. Then, class started. Miss Davis called on me twice, but because I answered perfectly each time, she looked frustrated, which made me feel better. Near the end of class, noisy footsteps echoed from the hallway. Our school rules are strict, and running in the hallway, especially during class, is an unacceptable act. Everyone looked puzzled, wondering who could be running, when the classroom door swung open. It was the principal.
Acting Chairman, you have an urgent call.
In a flustered manner, he yelled towards the back of the room. The students, including me, turned around, and the parents looked at each other. Then, Dad let out a sigh.
Goodness, I was trying not to be recognized by disguising myself, but this makes it pointless.
Apologizing to the principal, he walked towards him and left the classroom together. As soon as he left, the classroom erupted into chaos.
Ho, whose dad is that just now?
The acting chairman, it's him.
In the midst of the commotion stirred by the classmates who were with us since middle school, Jessica whispers to me secretly.
Hannah's dad. He was the acting chairman all along.
Sorry, I didn't tell you. I still can't quite believe that my dad is now the acting chairman of this school. After all, he was just a regular office worker until recently.
I apologize for causing such a commotion.
My dad, who had returned to the classroom, bows his head. The attitudes of the mothers have completely changed, and they were now offering polite smiles to my dad. It's just so typical of them. After class, Miss Davis bowed deeply to my dad.
I was not aware that Mr. Smith was the acting chairman. I am terribly sorry.
The gaze of not only the students, but also the parents, is gathered in unison. We, the students, have to leave school because there is a meeting after this. Let me know what happened later. Leaving these words to my dad, I left the classroom. Later, I heard from my dad about the meeting. Miss Davis confessed to the parents that she had been favoring the students who have been with her since middle school, and apologized. On top of that, she talked about his past. Miss Davis's father was a heavy drinker who loved to gamble and hardly worked. Her mother, fed up with her husband, left home, leaving the children behind. Miss Davis took care of her younger sister while doing housework, struggled to go to college, and obtained a teaching license. After getting a job, she left his father's house and is now supporting her sister, who is preparing for high school entrance exams.
I've been living with my pride intact by identifying myself with single-parent and po people and despising them.
Hearing Miss Davis's confession, I felt a pain in my heart. I always thought she was full of confidence and probably had walked the elite path, so I didn't know she had such a tragic past. After her self-introduction, my dad introduced himself again as the acting chairman.
I'm still new and inexperienced in the role of acting chairman, so I would appreciate your help. If there are things you want to improve or points of concern, Please feel free to consult with me.
My dad becoming the acting chairman was triggered by the death of my mom. The school I attend is run by my grandfather as chairman, but I had never met my grandfather or even knew of his existence until my mom passed away. That's because my grandfather opposed my mom's marriage to my dad, and they eloped. When my mom died from an illness when I was in 8th grade, I met my grandfather for the first time at the funeral. My mom had continued to send letters to my grandfather even after she was disowned, and he knew about me through photos. My grandfather said that he had forgiven my mom and dad, but his pride had prevented him from going to see them.
I'm sorry, Susan. If only I had come to see you earlier.
My grandfather apologized to my dad and me and asked us to become a family.
Of course, I'm sure Susan is happy in heaven too.
My dad gladly accepted, and even though I was sad to lose my mom, I was happy to know I had a grandfather. I was just about to prepare for high school entrance exams, and at my grandfather's suggestion, I decided to apply to the current school. Not only that, my grandfather asked my dad to succeed him, and my dad, after much deliberation, quit his job and became the acting chairman. I didn't want to be treated special as the granddaughter of the chairman and the daughter of the acting chairman, so I kept it a secret from my classmates. That's why my dad disguised himself at the class observation so the teachers and staff wouldn't find out. Miss Davis was new and had only exchanged brief greetings with my dad once, so he probably didn't recognize him. Only the principal was told that my dad would be attending his daughter's class observation, but my dad chuckled, saying he didn't think it would turn into such a situation. After that, my dad established a grant scholarship system for single-parent households. And to Miss Davis.
Why don't you let your sister try taking the entrance exam for our school?
He made such a proposal. As a result, Miss Davis's sister passed. She was able to apply for and receive a scholarship. Later, Miss Davis came with his sister to thank me.
Even though I was so rude, you thought of us and I don't know how to thank you. Thank you very much.
At that point, my dad confessed his past.
Actually, I also came from a single-parent, impoverished family and had to struggle. I had to get a job right out of high school to support my siblings. So, when I heard your story, I thought I wanted to give children from single-parent and poor families the chance to further their education.
My dad, who was a post-single parent and a high school graduate, was opposed to getting married by my grandfather. But now he seems to be doing well, having learned the job from grandfather. Ever since then, Miss Davis's attitude towards her students changed. She no longer exhibited discriminatory behavior or remarks, and began to sincerely interact with each and every student. I was surprised to find myself liking a teacher I used to dislike so much. Today is our regular weekly dinner. Eating at a fancy restaurant still feels unfamiliar, but I'm getting used to spending this time talking around the table with grandfather and dad. Grandfather wants to know everything that happened while we were apart, no matter how trivial, so the conversation never ends. Sometimes, grandfather and dad would discuss school management.
I guess this conversation is pretty boring. Sorry, Hannah.
I smiled at grandfather's apology. Not at all. After all, I'm thinking about wanting to support you and dad in the future. Grandfather teared up a bit, saying, "That's very kind of you. But you should pursue the path you want to take, Hannah." It didn't sound persuasive at all.
That's right. The thing that makes us happiest is knowing that you're doing well, Hannah.
Thinking of Mom, I felt a warmth welling up inside my eyes. The loneliness of losing Mom will always be there. But I'll be all right because I have a family who loves me. I will also set clear future goals for the sake of these two.